Good morning, everybody. Yes, Friday morning, another very long video. Now, people have written to me, why haven't you done a video yet about the car chase and the police and what's going on with the UK and the court case? I told you guys I work 24 to 48 behind because information is constantly coming out. And I want to make sure that you guys get the whole story and not just a quick video out and then, the story changes again 5 minutes later. So again, super long video, split into two, but there's a lot to cover. Let's get there, shall we? Let's go. We're going to start with Sophie and Edward. People noticed that they were not at the memorial service that I covered in my Patreon yesterday. Very smart. Actually, they were in Switzerland skiing at an exclusive resort in St. Moritz. They were joined by Susie Watt. Now, she is the wife of the Royal Hospital's governor, Sir Redmond Watt. So the two of them were skiing up there. Of course, the children, Lady Louise and James, the Earl of Wessex, were not there. This is what I like to call a hoity-toity place because Liz Hurley, Ivana Trump before she passed away, John Travolta, this is where all the big people go to, ski. I'm very glad they were able to have some time to themselves. And for those people saying they should have been at the memorial, people knew they weren't going to be there because William was going to be there. They had no idea William was going to pull out at the last minute, and then there was the death in the family. So, I'm glad they were able to go. Moving on. Now, before she went off skiing, Sophie is the patron of CMI, which is a business that educates and inspires people to become skilled and successful managers. She hosted the CMI Women's Forum. I just love Sophie. Moving on. Moving on to Well Child. We know that this is the charity that has kept Prince Harry as its patron. Even, I can't imagine, a charity for critically ill children that uses a drug addict as its patron. Unbelievable. I can remember not that long ago, one of the parents put up a post. She was really angry because after waiting hours, her child asked Harry very innocently to see a picture of his daughter, and Harry got a face like thunder, she wrote, and stormed off. I won't give this charity a penny while they use this man. Moving on. Let us not forget that the court hearing with the Heritage Group and Harry's paperwork, and if his U.S. visa is rejected, they may have to go back to Canada. I think that would be very interesting to see what would happen if they have to go back to Canada. I can't even imagine. God, look out, Canadians. Here we go. Prince Harry has lost his case against the Home Office for security and, of course, was moaning that he had been singled out and treated differently than other members of the royal family. Duh, you're not a working royal. Remember, before they stepped away, they had 24/7, round-the-clock, armed with weapons protection. And that's what they want again, even if they're in the UK for things that have nothing to do with the royal family. His entire argument is that he automatically should have full police protection at all times because of who he is. Now, you guys need to remember that the decisions are made by RAVIC. They're the ones who decide about VIP security, whenever anybody important goes to the UK. Now, this decision was made back in February of 2020. They told him that his situation has changed. He was no longer a working member of the royal family, and it was not in the public interest that they should pay for full police protection because he's now no longer working for that same public. Remember, when Harry left the UK and went to Canada, he had full protection there. It wasn't until he moved off to California that RAVIC said, okay, that's enough of this. We also found out that he was using security to go get them coffee and food. Now, when he goes to the UK, he's very well protected. We noticed that he's supposed to give 28 days notice when he goes. And this last time when he went to visit his dad, he didn't give 28 days notice, but he still had the royal protection because, he was going to see his father. I have to be honest and say one of the more stupid things that Harry said was, look what happened to my mom. She had no protection, which we all know she refused the police protection. It was not removed from her. But this was just one of the arguments that he threw everything at Ravik, including the kitchen sink. We're going to get into that a little bit more later also. Harry's attorneys came out and said that, he's being singled out from other members of the royal family, which I think we can all agree that's pretty symptomatic of Harry and his view of the world. He's a victim. It's everybody else's fault. It's not the fact that he left the family and, it's Ravik's fault. It's his family's fault. It's other people's fault. So incensed was he back in 2020 when his protection was removed that he actually wrote a letter to the cabinet secretary and he wanted to know who was responsible for this decision and said, and I'm quoting, who would put me in a position that no one was willing to put my mother in 23 years ago? And he argued that the risk to him is greater than it was to his mother. He then continued on, someone is comfortable with taking accountability for what could happen, and I want that person's name. Yep. Now, one of the other arguments that Harry made for round-the-clock police protection is because it was reported that Al-Qaeda wants him killed because of what he wrote in the Spare. Remember, he killed those people. It was like knocking them off a chessboard. And in the Spare, Harry said, and I'm quoting, it wasn't a statistic that filled me with pride, but I wasn't ashamed either. When I found myself immersed in the heat and confusion of battle, I didn't think of those 25 people. They were chess pieces removed from the board. Bad people eliminated before they could kill the good people. And nobody told him that could be a dangerous thing to put in a book. You know what that is, dear? That's consequences. The response from Ravik was 52 pages long and was partially redacted. But one of the things that it said was that Harry's lawyers have taken a, quote, inappropriate formalist interpretation of the Ravik process. And they're saying that it was a legally sound decision. People need to remember that Harry has not been refused permission to have the protection. He just doesn't get it automatically because he's no longer a working royal. He's the one who put himself in the firing line. And here's the interesting thing. You guys have to remember, he's a multi-millionaire. He's got $30 million in the bank. Meghan's a millionaire, and he's got more inheritance coming, another $30-40 million. This man is not poor. It's not that he can't afford the protection. He just doesn't want to. He wants the taxpayer to do it. That's the problem. I don't think there's anybody that has forgotten the moment when Harry sat on Oprah's couch and whined about losing his protection. But let me remind you, and I'm quoting right from the interview, Harry said, quote, our first concern was that while we were in Canada, in somebody else's house, I then got told short notice that security was going to be removed. At this point, courtesy of the Daily Mail, the world knew our exact location. And suddenly it dawned on me, wait a second, the borders could be closed. Our security's being removed. Who knows how long lockdown's going to be? The world knows where we are. It's not safe. It's not secure. We need to get out of there. And Oprah said, well, what security did you have at the time that was going to be removed? And Harry said, my UK security. Oprah says, so you got word from overseas that they're taking away your security. Oprah said, why did they do that? And Harry said their justification was a change in status. To which I pushed back and asked if there was a change to threat or risk. And after many weeks of waiting, I finally got the confirmation that no, the risk and threat hasn't changed, but due to our change of status, of which we would not be official working members of the royal family, what we proposed was part-time, or at least what we could do, without being fully consumed. Keep in mind that he made it sound like the royal family removed his security. Actually, in the Sandringham agreement, the royal family said that they did require security, but it wasn't their position. That's Ravik's job. The royal family has no control over that. And remember, every single time he has returned to the UK for any reason having to deal with the royal family, he has had his 24-hour a day, 7-day a week armed protection. Yes, he has. All right, you guys, we still have a lot to unpack. So don't forget to go from here to part 2. You're not going to want to miss this. Let's go.